Welcome to the show. Now, former Senate President Bukola Saraki and Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed have been chosen as Northern Consensus candidates of the People's Democratic Party. Both politicians were shortlisted by Northern leaders of the country ahead of the presidential primary on May 28. Now, their emergence was part of the recommendations made by a committee made up of some Northern leaders, and the presidential aspirants had submitted themselves, about 4 of them from the northern part of the country, to be selected from. Now, the Northern leaders said the decision to have Saraki and Mohammed was based on certain criteria adopted in the assessment of the 4 aspirants who submitted themselves for the exercise. But the Northern Elders Forum has distanced itself from the arrangement, which produced both politicians, and both politicians were urged to go and meet and arrive at one person. Now, this North Consensus candidates who are supposed to meet and come up with one person ahead of the PDP's primary next month is already causing a lot of stir in the polity. This decision is being rejected by several persons, while others have received it wholeheartedly. Others are still receiving it with mixed reactions. And some of the persons who subjected themselves to that exercise have distanced themselves from the outcome of it, and that's someone like Governor Aminu Tambuwal of Sokoto State and Mohammed Hayatuddin, who is also a presidential aspirant. Well, to make sense of all of this, let's bring in the man himself, who is a scholar and also the spokesman of the Bala Mohammed campaign organization, Professor Udenta Udenta. So good to have you here, Udenta Udenta. It's been one controversy upon another controversy upon another controversy. We've seen your campaign organization accepting the outcome of that consensus arrangement by some Northern elders, not the Northern Elders Forum, as was thought to have been earlier on. Let's talk about how your campaign organization is trying to woo others to accept that verdict.
I think, Sambo, it's a pleasure having you, being here. And some weeks back, we had a very interesting and very provocative conversation. I'm sure we will equally dive into the subject matter of that conversation in the course of this very short outing. The matter of the Northern Consensus is overflogged. It's not even something I want to spend so much time on, but it's important in taking it, just like a side, thing now, to focus on 1 or 2 issues not well deposited in the public domain. 1, 2010, between August and November, that's about 12 years ago, a consensus of a sort, what you're called in the northern wing of the PDP,
yeah,
putting together President Ibrahim Babangida, Military Instruction General, Guzo, former President, Vice President Atiku Abubakar, and then Governor Bukola Saraki. I was the DJ of the Saraki campaign then. The Northern elders, political leaders, led by late Adamu Shirama, facilitated the process that led to the final determination of the emergence of that consensus in the person of Atiku Abubakar. And the 3 rallied around him. That's why he became the deputy DG of Atiku campaign, as part of the process of building that consensus within not only his own campaign, but the other 3 campaigns. The difference between then and now is even that it was not even the candidates themselves who came together to press the Northern leaders in order to protect the sanctity of the zoning arrangement and fidelity to the reduction of power principle, which they felt was under threat. What elders who felt there was a need to bring some sanity and coherence to that process. This time around, Governor Bala Mohammed, Senator Bukola Saraki, Governor Aminu Tambuwal, and Alhaji Hayatuddin approached General Ibrahim Babangida and said, you lead the process, not he and the group of elders. You alone lead this process and determine the outcome. I will abide by the procedures and abide by the mechanisms and the modalities you will fashion out to bring this to its logical conclusion. If you had asked his children to help him work out the criteria, they were bound by it. If you ask Sambo and myself, bring out the criteria, they would have been bound by it. But suddenly in the discourse, you don't hear Ibrahim Babangida's name anymore. It's Ango Abdullahi, who he asked, who he asked to aid him. It mustn't be the Northern Elders Forum. Ango Abdullahi, with his stature in the North, said, aid me in the exercise of this mandate.
In his personal capacity.
What you come up with, or the groups you consult, I know, I will ratify it. And he did come up with criteria, and Babangida ratified it. Until he speaks to distance himself from the Ango decision, this matter is mute. It's finished. It's over. The consensus does not preclude those who did not participate in it from engaging in a robust conversation to win the party primaries of PDP.
Yeah, but unlike that of 2011, Udenta, we are seeing two persons being presented as consensus candidates and two of them being asked to go and meet. Who do you think will step down for each other?
You are discussing the form. We are dealing with the content. If Babangida, who led the process, accepted the verdict of two, so be it. That's not the point to litigate here. How they reach the consensus later down is another matter. Now the campaigns must pivot away, having deposited this historical fact that Babangida did not seek them out. He did not press upon them or pressure them. They went to him willingly and said, we will accept any decision. Suddenly in the entire media conversations, you don't hear Babangida's name because they are maybe frightened of his stature to say, how can we impugn on his integrity and his credibility? Let us take down Ango Abdullahi, who acted on behalf of Babangida, not for himself.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't heard Babangida saying anything himself.
That's the point. So you accepted that his decision rendered by Ango Abdullahi was to the likening and validation and authentication of Babangida. For now. Now for the Bala Mohammed campaign, let me take a step back, Sambo, bearing on my conversation with you some weeks back. It was a very provocative conversation and very intense. Yeah, people did ask me, you spent time with someone and said, you are a proud Southeasterner, an Igbo son, backing the campaign of a Northerner in the context of the Igbo side, Southeast side for the presidency. I said, sure, because North-South zoning is fraudulent, is perfidious, and it's not fair and just. The latest contributor to that debate you and I shaped was not even Atiku alone, who said, I will step aside if the party zone to the southeast. Orji Kanu, Senate whip, a solid southeast leader, 2 days ago, that if you don't zone to the southeast, you can even permit a man from Daura to come and be for the presidency.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting thesis that Orji Kalu brought.
It came from here. All these theses came from here because I said, I will back Bala Mohammed to the head. That's why today I'm a spokesman of his campaign and the chairman of the PIU. PIU is a technical, intellectual resource base of his campaign that is planning the way for the unfoldment of the infrastructure of his full campaign.
Now you're doing that to Udenta because you feel that there's a betrayal by the Southwest and the South-South.
Beyond that even, because I say to you here, if the South-South and the Southwest, John McConnell, Kano and Atiku borrowed the line from our conversation and said, we are not going to put our names forward. There won't be anything, there won't be any Sibanjo or Musun, Ibigwila Mokun the other day, and a lot more maybe line up. Only people from the southeast will contest for this election. Bala Mohammed knows I will not be speaking for his campaign today, but I know politicians to be perfidious and very sincere. And I said, politics of deflection and concealment, they conceal the true intent. When I finish my conversation with you, Sambo, go and check the social media and mainstream media. No response from anybody. When Atiku said, I will step aside if anybody from the Southwest and South drop out of it, no response. All you cannot say is, oh, no response.
Yeah, and we've had Ayo Adebanjo also joining the debate. Calling on people from the Southwest to step down. But why is it difficult for the Southwest to actually step down its ambition? Politicians from that zone.
Sambo, there are things in politics about practice, overcoming contradictions, which I deposited here. The second is practical implication of the politics of possibility and the politics of rhetoric and polemics. Cultural leaders are very important influencers, but they don't shape the business of parties or the outcome of party decisions. I think Ferre, Pandef, and the rest of them have done well in terms of what they're canvassing. But politicians are not, guided by them or somehow beholden to them. They do what they do. Enlightened self-interest, sometimes not even enlightened. I understand all that. That's why I sat down with Bala Mohammed and said, your vision is a practical, progressive vision. Fixed. Nigeria fixed vision. He has a blueprint, the only one available for among all the contestants in PDP, which are deposited with all the stakeholders. I've gone through it. I studied in detail. I know the process that led to his enunciation and his current display in the public space. I believe it's going to be a good bridge builder.
Yeah, but when you hear Bala Mohammed saying that if Goodluck Jonathan comes back and wants to be president, that he has stepped down for him, whether he's in APC or PDP, what do you make of such an observation? I mean, people will say, I mean, he's a weakling as a presidential aspirant to say that.
Let me restate that. I have been with him in several fora where he made that profound statement. For we went to see former President, Goodluck Jonathan, yeah. He said it to national media, and it was well covered. He gave me an elevation in politics and a stature in public life that was unprecedented. I owe him a debt of gratitude. He provided space for me from AMPP as a senator to become the minister, not just of any minister, of FCT, almost like the governor of Abuja, receiving foreign dignitaries, foreign heads of state and presidents. And he allowed me to stay in my party for almost 9 months without worry about my loyalty to the government and to the Constitution of the Federal Republic. For these reasons, I, as an individual, is my credo, but I will not contest against him. It is strength. When Jonathan himself even accepted the result of the 2015 election, before the final votes were cast, it was not weakness. It was strength. Okay. So when he says, I will contest against anybody but not Jonathan, he made a statement then. But then, let me nuance it. Contesting against former President Jonathan brings into play a range of space and movement. Is it at the primary level of context, at the level of in which you become a candidate? It's a matter that can be interrogated here. Okay.
In this instance, Udenta Udenta, I mean, the issue of loyalty is coming to play. And we've seen a Bala Mohammed saying, look, Goodluck Jonathan made me, I'm very loyal to him. There's nothing that will make me to run against him if he ever decides to do. Now, can you contextualize it with an Oshibanjo and a Bola Tinubu?
I'm not going to litigate.
In the instance of what we are saying in the All Progressives Congress.
I'm not going to litigate the conversation going on between Oshibanjo.
Yeah, I mean, it's an issue of loyalty. And like Fashola will say, may your loyalty never be tested.
I've got to be humble. When I say I can't engage in that robust conversation because I know the two individuals fairly well. I was the founding National Secretary of Alliance for Democracy in 1998. So in essence, I was their boss of the two people. No matter how big the stature is today, I was their boss. I was not administrative officer. I was the repository of party conscience and party information and party, documents. So I knew the circumstances of everybody's allegiance in the party and how they became what they became. It is for them to sort out whatever issues of loyalty they have. I'm focused on Bala Mohammed presidential campaign. I'm focused on his humanity. I'm focused on his ability to separate overarching avarice for power.
Well, I'm asking this question because you must have seen the newspapers today where Oshibanjo has said that he owes his allegiance only to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and no one. And we are seeing Bala Mohammed saying that, look, I understand that this exists, but Jonathan brought me to power.
The campaign infrastructure should have enormous strategic capacity, communication capacity to ventilate the issues. The two gentlemen should ventilate the issues and they didn't fit. But Senator Bala Mohammed has made his point very clear. Because of objective circumstances and subjective factors, aligning me to the former president, this is my stand. And Nigerians, we know that this is where strength flows from. And this is where loyalty, not just for the sake of loyalty as a moral variety or imperative, not as even as an ethical mission, but loyalty that can help the country overcome the moment of contradictions we have today. This country is bleeding.
Now, let's talk about the issue of this consensus arrangement and all of that and the process that threw up Bala Mohammed and Bukola Saraki. Has there been any meeting between Bukola Saraki and Bala Mohammed since the Northern Elders, led by Babangida, asked both of them to go and sit down in a room and come out? And do you think your principal will actually step down for Bukola Saraki?
Let me put it this way. There are conversations for the public square, and there are conversations for sacred homestead. There's conversations for the spirits and for masquerades. Some we are getting to the conversation for masquerades.
Yeah, you're going spiritual now.
No, for masquerades. Because in the public square, you discuss issues of strategy and tactics. Bala Mohammed is going to unfold the full infrastructure of his campaign organization in the coming days.
That's to say he's not stepping down for Saraki?
Sure, absolutely not. The campaigns are encouraged, including those who didn't make it, to sustain their effort. So he's going to unleash the full capacity of his Nigeria First vision in the coming days and weeks. Because what he's planned to do now is raise a formidable infrastructure in the making already, design a powerful program of inclusive conversation among party stakeholders, devise the means of reaching out to every single delegate. He's going to single hunt and poach for every single delegate until the day of the party primaries, 28-29 May 2022.
Yeah, and I'm interested in knowing how much of win of the delegates Bala Mohammed has been doing, because we've just seen him, saying so much in Abuja about we haven't seen him moving around to meet with delegates like others.
He's moved around formidably before the constitutional arrangement started. I toured part of the country with him, reaching out to delegates, stakeholders, critical people who are very important in the party conversation about power. The moment the consensus arrangement came on board, as a dutiful, loyal person, he focused energy. And don't forget, it was not a northern consensus. It was to build an overarching national consensus. Every single PDP governor was met by the consensus team. They were in Enugu, my state, they met my governor. They were in Abia to meet Ikbazu. They were there to meet Wike. They met everybody, spreading the message of consensus, not just for the northern part of the PDP. And it is having a salutary impact.
I'm talking of Bala Mohammed as a person.
I'm saying, when you finish the consensus arrangement and the result has been deposited for the people to know, he's part of that winning streak there. He now has to refocus his energy in trying to now do what? Begin the conversation he broke off in reaching out the delegates weeks back to accommodate the consensus moment. Now he's going to begin that in the next 1 or 2 days, in which he's going to reach across the 36 states, reach across all the 6 geopolitical zones, reach every single delegate, appeal to them, speak to them about the richness of his vision, about the solidity of his Nigeria First agenda, and about his capacity as a leader to build consensus and build bridges of understanding for everybody in Nigeria. Bala's mission is a simple one. That is why I'm excited about it. I'm a proud guy from the Southeast. I'm not delusional about power and politics. I'm not naive. I know that at the end of the day, some people may not be too comfortable with my position, but they will see that light. Because when the light comes and the party makes a statement, which it has already made through the Committee on Zoning, this is going to be thrown open.
Yeah,
when that happens,
and some party members are actually saying that Bala Mohammed betrayed the trust of the PDP after having held the position of chairman of that committee of the party, stealthily sneaked in this position that the PDP's presidential ticket should be thrown open, knowing fully well that he will be standing to contest in the future.
A year since he did his job, an uncommon job of bravery, an uncommon job of fortitude for the party, and examine the reasons why the party lost the election 2019. Examine the reasons why the party should win election in the future, and came to the inescapable conclusion that the principles of rotation of power and the practical modality for zone of offices for this season must embrace an inclusive conversation within the party. Northeast and Southeast, he isolated the 2 zones as the most depressed in terms of presidential power, potentials and possibilities, even attainment of such in the Nigerian history, more so the recent democratic enterprise. And then alerted the party to duality of vision. Either you have an open context for everybody, in which case you can research a conversation about zoning down the line, or you find a way to say Northeast and Southeast should be encouraged to see that together.
I read some of those recommendations.
That is the most potent vision I can think anybody can talk about in the party. And it's a party to decide that the committee work as it did. It's time and right for the party to take its bearing from that.
Okay.
As I said, if you are deluded about power, and about being naive about the behavior of politicians, you'll not be where I am. But because I'm not, by the time it is obvious to everybody that the zoning debate for this season has been betrayed by the South, not the North, but the South and the Southeast betrayed the zoning arrangement for the South and the Southwest, betrayed the zoning arrangement for the Southeast. They understand Udenta's pivot as a rear guard into the Bala Mohammed campaign.
Very interesting, but I just have to take you back to this issue of this consensus arrangement, which is at the heart of our conversations here. Now, we could see Hayatuddin signing that document. We saw Bukola Saraki signing it. We saw Bala Mohammed signing it, but Tambuwal did not sign it. What sort of conversations have we been having around that?
Let me put it this way. In politics, you separate fact from suppositions. Your perceptions could well become part of reality, but facts are there, which of course nobody can deal with, even in dialectical format. I said, and let me repeat, for the millions of viewers, 2010, 4 individuals, and I named them, went to the Northern Elders, encouraged them to do what? Reach a consensus, and they did. 2022, a group of 4 notable leaders of the party, PDP, in the North, approached former President Babangida and said, help us out. Whatever you decide, and however you decide it will be acceptable to us. And he taxed Ango Abdullahi I trust you, you respected, venerated leader of the North. Do this for me, and let me see the result of your investigations. And he gave it to him, and he nodded and said, it's fine. And it became public. To go into the nitty-gritty, the minute technical and logistic details of who signed, who didn't sign, who said, who didn't say what, is becoming increasingly childish and petty. So what we're going to...
What are you saying now? Is it that Tambuwal is bound by it?
I say, what is key? What is key?
Not?
What is key is for stakeholders to say, President Babangida, you didn't do very well here. Nobody has said so. They talk about Anga Bulai as if he set out on himself to do a consensus.
Yeah, but do you think Tambuwal is bound by this outcome now?
What I'm saying...
Having previously agreed that whatever happens, whatever is the outcome, he would abide by it, only for him not to sign at the end.
Let me restate. You don't hold brief for individuals or leaders. They act on the basis of assumptions and suppositions available to them. The key thing is that General Babangida was approached by 4 of them to facilitate a process, and he did it via the instrumentality of Anga Bulai and the consultations that we did. Period. End of matter. And as I said, the focus for us in the Bala Mohammed campaign organization, how do we pivot on the groundswell of public support and appreciation of that process, and to build an inclusive conversation within the party? How do you reach out to the people in the Southeast? You reach out to those in the South, South, and North Central and Southwest? How do you go to the delegates and explain to them your vision of governance? Your role as a bridge builder? Because
okay. As we continue this conversation, because we're almost coming to the end of it, I want you to talk about Bala Mohammed and his national stature. Some people have said that he's a Fulani irredentist. You must have heard some of the statements he made in 2019 saying that the Fulani citizenship goes beyond the boundaries of Nigeria and all of that. When people ask you, Udenta, as the spokesman of Bala Mohammed, about such questions and whether Bala Mohammed as a potential president may not favor only his Fulani ethnic stock, what do you say?
Not only suppositions are there in the past, but even of recent, 1 or 2 rascally statements from some individuals impinging on his integrity and his character and that of his children and family. I laugh at such things there because people who know Bala Mohammed know he has a heart that is very large, capacious and inclusive. His sense of compassion for somebody who's to say, in 2010, a minority vice president from the South is worthy to be president, and led that charge through the doctrine of necessity to ensure his acting presidency.
Yeah, I mean, himself and smarter than that time.
I say he's taking his reputation in a north at stake. He's actually calling to question, how proud am I as a northerner, as a Muslim, when he's going to talk about a southerner who is not even from the majority tribe in the south, but a minority. That is the kind of Bala Mohammed you're seeing.
I remember it almost got him into trouble then.
Absolutely.
Because some of the northern, within the northern hegemony, didn't want that.
Again, he said, which you repeated here, I will not contest against my principal, not a Fulani man, not a northerner, a southerner, a Christian. What more do I talk about Bala Mohammed in terms of inclusion? In terms of that bridge building ability he has, that capacity to reach everybody. And as a minister of FCT, he ran an inclusive government. His 5
about the corruption allegations against Bala Mohammed, let me tell you, before he became governor, because some people say that he actually used the toga of the immunity of being a governor to actually stay away from the EFCC issues.
Let's put it this way. Jonathan lost election 2015. Bala Mohammed became governor 2019, 4 years of robust EFCC investigation that fell flat on the face. Robust persecution, not even prosecution, that fell flat on the face. Robust charges that came to nothing for 4 years. He was battling through to save his honor and integrity. He did that admirably well. So when he went to contest for election 2019, he was not coming from a strong space. He was under harassment, under persecution, and he won. From that day till today, he's marching on to the presidency with his vision that is clear and formidable. Now, Bala Mohammed's integrity is intact. His humanity is intact. His being a bridge builder is intact. His compassion is intact.
And I can say that Bala Mohammed is actually being courageous here because he's entitled to a second term as governor, but he's deciding to go for the presidency. What gives him that confidence? What gives him that confidence that he will emerge as the PDP presidential candidate?
The country is bleeding. The country is sorely divided. The country has lost its way. The country is drifting. No matter the love and passion he has for Bauchi State, the love and passion for Nigeria is overwhelming. So Bauchi citizens understand that why they need him back home to continue his work. He has been a struggle in his heart. The larger call into the wider Nigerian space to bring a formidable scale as a public servant, as a senator, as a minister, now as a governor, with an incredible transformational, work in Bauchi State to be on the Baro Nigerian space.
Now, is it because he's afraid that he may not win a second term, considering the politics of Bauchi State? Because, I mean, his predecessor had previously lost an election.
Let me tell you, they call him a giant slayer. He beat a governor, a sitting governor for the Senate seat. He defeated a sitting governor from the ravages of EFCC persecution to win a decisive election 2019. So if he's not for a second time, it's a walkover. It's a walk in the park. But for him, the call and the lure of national salvation to rebuild and rescue this country is far more compelling than the narrow vision or space of Bauchi State.
And you think he has all it takes to win the PDP presidential ticket in a contest where you have an Atiku also from the northeast of the country?
Not what it takes to win the primary election, what it takes to win the general election. The strategic formulation for that purpose is already on ground. The vision that will drive that victory is already formulated. And the capacity...
Aren't you being too confident?
Sambo, you know me. My history is not today's history. It's over a 3-decade history of engagement at the highest level in Nigerian politics. I don't speak lightly. I speak with profoundness of mind and seriousness of heart. Balanced commitment to Nigeria and to winning the PDP primary election and the general election of this country is unimpeachable.
Yeah, but some people actually say an Atiku Abubakar coming from the northeast dwindles a Bala Mohammed, who's just a first-time governor.
Am I going to, in this brilliant space we have, somebody to engage in this robust conversation, deal with an individual whose campaign organization I know little about? I have to focus on the one available to me, a very formidable, very powerful campaign
organization. I'm very quickly.
Put together by Bala Mohammed. That campaign organization is second to none. I have gone with him to the Ministers Forum of PDP, NWC, BOT, Senate Caucus and House Caucus. I'm not revealing any secret of the gods here. Every stop has a message for him. You have the best team. You have the best blueprint. You have the best vision. Of all the aspiring so far before us.
Well, I can see you're trying to run away from the Atiku question. But very quickly, what sort of president...
It's not important for me.
What sort of president would Bala Mohammed be if he's given an opportunity? In just 60 seconds.
A pan-national president. A patriot to the core, who will deliver on his core promises of salvaging this country with a Nigeria first agenda. An inclusive president will understand the pains of the country. They need to rebuild trust, to bind the wounds of division ravaging this country today. To understand that many areas are marginalized, including my people of the southeast.
Including the northeast where he comes from.
So you have to take that into consideration in building a national framework of governance, a unity government of a sort that Nigeria has to rely on and breathe a sigh of relief and say, we are coming out of the woods after 8 years of this rudderless journey.
Well, we can only wish you well, Udenta Udenta, alongside your principal, Bala Mohammed, as you all seek for that PDP ticket, because this time around, with all this array of contenders, some persons say that it's not going to be easy for many others, including Bala Mohammed. But
he will get there.
I can see your confidence. You're very, very confident that he will actually make it.
He will get
well,
there.
We wish you well. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.